All right, everybody, welcome in. My boy Sterls in for a Buffalo Sports Thursday. We got some live football on. It's a good day, man. It's a good day. How you doing, brother? Oh, okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I have Fernando Mendoza on with the Texans if it would stay on the TV, but I don't know. We got all kinds of problems over here. But you knew that already, you know. I think it's a me problem, not an anybody else problem. So, we deal, we move on. Yeah, I mean, have you met? They called me the Black Cloud, dog. Like, what are we doing? All right. Whoa. You said that in the most offensive way possible. Listen, man. Sorry, I don't try to be something I'm not. What do you want from me? I don't know. Yeah, man, I have respect for it and hopes and dreams, but I know my limitations, so here we are. Um, Nice hat, by the way. That's a fly little hat you got on there. So gray with dark blue, it looks like. Is that? Am I reading that right, or is that purple? It's purple. That's a good looking hat, man. No, you won't. But again, with the updated background, you know what I mean. It's you're pulling it all together. Yeah. Mm. Okay. Okay. All right. Do you want to know when they play really? Like, or should we maybe not? Oh. Okay. All right. So, I mean, are these people that you work with often friends of yours? What? No, you just like the product. I love that for you. Is this to memorialize the fact that there's no longer any national championship Wolverines who are have starting jobs or are any good in the NFL? You, I got it last week. I got it last week. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, actually, I'm a big Kyle Whittingham. I was a big fan of that hire. Like, I really thought you guys were going to get caught with your pants down. No pun intended. I thought you guys. I really thought you guys were just. It was a terrible part of the cycle to lose your coach and start looking for a new one. You were in a bad spot with recruits. Like, it was just a nightmare. And to come out with Kyle Whittingham as your head coach was such a W. I can't believe it. So I love the hire. The only thing, and I think it was mental health guy that said, he's getting up there in age a little bit. And I was like, okay, but even if you bring him in for a couple years to stabilize that program, that's a huge win for the time of year that you got him. Um, just crazy. So I don't even think he's that old. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, we saw how that went last time. I don't. But also, first of all, sharp as a tack, like you can see that in the press conferences. It's not like he's lost a step. And then I said to mental health guy, I was like, and do you know how old Andy Reid is? Do you know how old Sean Payton is? You know what I mean? Like, being in your 60s does not prevent you from being a head coach, especially in college where you're more of a CEO than like a grinder. You know what I mean? Which I'm sure he still does the grinding parts of it. But, you're so much more a coach of the coaches in that situation. So, you know, it, I don't think he's too old for the gig. So look at us. Look at us talking about Michigan on a while we're not talking about Buffalo sports, let's talk about Peyton Watson real quick. Do you have any thoughts? You got any thoughts on that? On the Peyton Watson trade? Right. Right. Yeah. You have a like let's I'm going to put too big of a range here so I don't have arguments with people cuz I don't need to argue about this, but like you have a top 25 player of all time on your team. Not right, and like really, we should be saying top 10 or top 5, but I don't want to argue about it right now. So let's just say you have a top 25 player to ever play the game of basketball on your team right now, and it sure looks like you're going to win one title and just waste his remaining years. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't. Sterls. Do not. Do not. I mean, at this point, and like I wouldn't do this without talking to Jokic first, but at this point, I'm trading Gordon and Jamal. He had a good year last year. And if you wanted to tell me if you if you wanted to tell me that you were going to run it back, get into the second apron, sign as many dudes as you can, and try to win a championship with that core, then fine. But it's just like their goal is clearly to get out of the second apron, and if that's your goal, then trade Jamal Murray and trade Aaron Gordon, who I love but can't stay on the court, and take a chance on bringing in whoever you can get for those guys who is at that level and see if you can turn it into at least some sort of contender. Because you're not better than the Thunder, and you're not better than the Spurs, and you're not better than Minnesota based on last year. So, oh man, I'm angry about it. I thought they had it last year, man. When I mean, Christian Brown's contract is fine if you have stars on that team that you're not overpaying. His contract is fine for what he gives you, but it's the fact that it pushes you into the second apron because you're paying so much to Gordon and Murray, like, and then you don't have any room to sign anybody. So I don't know. Would DeMar DeRozan move the needle at all for you? Sure, yeah. I listen. What is he gonna do? Give you some solid guard play off the bench is what he's gonna do. Like I mean, you need it right now. You need it. You're right now. You're playing second round picks off the bench. You know what I mean? Oof, oof. Yeah. So that one, and everyone, the media types are like, we saw this coming a mile away. Why are all the fans angry? And it's like, it's not that the fans didn't see this coming. It's that you're betraying like the best player to ever put on your uniform. You're clearly just letting it slip into oblivion. And somebody said like you're turning into the Milwaukee Bucks. I use the Pittsburgh Penguins as a like Sidney Crosby is a top whatever player of all time. And for his last like 6 years, he's been in the NHL and they've just been trying to make the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, what's the freaking point, man? What's the point? No, you got to come up with a plan. You got to have a plan. And sure doesn't feel like it. Sure doesn't feel like it. All right, now let's talk about the story that kind of melds Denver sports and Buffalo sports as we've been talking. Finally, a piece of a Sean McDermott defense has been signed. Taylor Rapp to the Denver Broncos. Broncos have good starting safeties. They don't have any safety depth. I think as safety depth, he's a good signing. No? You don't like that for them? But that's very... I mean, that's a Taylor Rapp problem, though, isn't it? You know what I mean? I mean, be honest. How worried are you about him hurting other players in the defensive backfield? Right. I feel like it's a legit question. Yeah. Yeah. The head. Yeah. He can. And I think this is the ideal spot. I think you put him with a guy like Vance Joseph in that defense. Like you said, I think he fits nicely in there. And I think not being a starter, just coming in either sub packages where you want him just to do what he's good at, or in case of emergency, he's your third safety. I think that's a good spot for him to be in. So I think with all the problems that they were having figuring out their safety depth, he solidifies your third spot, and then you've got like maybe one. Well, you've got one, maybe two spots left to put other safeties on your roster. And so, if you're talking depth safeties there, like JL Skinner or somebody like that, and you didn't want that guy to be first off the bench if there's an injury. So Taylor Rapp solves that problem for you, but as a fourth safety who plays special teams, I think you're comfortable in that spot. So Rapp, um, I'd probably ask him to. Yeah, yeah. You kind of have to, but like he's the kind of guy that you can put as like the linebacker on the PAT defense on the, you know what I mean? the linebacker on punt return, because he can come up and make a tackle if there's some kind of fake or something like that. So it's a spot like that. I'm probably not having him run into people or guard like gunners or anything like that, but just having him out there as like a savvy vet who can make a tackle. Yeah, I feel good about that. Three safeties or take Hufanga off the field. I don't like taking Hufanga off the field, but that's probably who it would be, right? Maybe, but yeah. I mean, if you want to go with the coverage look, but what Hufanga gives you is that aggressiveness to have the fear of a blitz or something like that. You know what I mean? And so a three safety look would be interesting there though, because I don't love their linebackers in general. Though they do have Red Murdoch as the Mr. Irrelevant pick. I don't know if you knew that. University of Buffalo, uh, incredible linebacker Red Murdoch, and I think he's going to earn a spot there. So okay, so before we get into like practice or big overall thoughts, a couple of articles I saw today that I just wanted your take on. Chris Trapasso from Buffalo Rumblings wrote a whole write-up about TJ Sanders. And it included, him getting hurt last year, how that might have affected how you thought of him last year. And then not only does he get a boon from being healthy, but also how much better he fits in this defense, which is crazy how many guys were saying that about, isn't it? But how much better he fits in this defense than he did in McDermott's defense, and that he could really be a candidate for like a second year leap. And so I just kind of want your thoughts on that. Him, so you brought up an interesting point, and you've heard a lot of this through camp. So we only get what we get from the media, so it's understandable. But you've heard a lot about Landon Jackson too, and that he looks like he fits better. He put a little bit of weight on, and that's helping him a little bit. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he shouldn't have taken some weight off there. Maybe that was a bad idea. Um, and that this position just kind of fits him better, same as Sanders. And so, the conversation becomes, what's your best three defensive linemen? We know it's Ed, and we know it's Dion, but who's that third guy? And like, where are you sliding Dion in that situation, right? Are you putting him on the nose, or are you putting him at a tackle spot? I've been thirsting for Deion Walker at a tackle spot and a true nose guard. And now you got an interesting signing with Greg Gaines coming in, who had played for the Rams and for the Bucks. and is a nose tackle. Now, did they sign him because, like you said last week, Dwayne Carter isn't looking great? And you're just looking for him to be the second nose tackle with Phi Mathis going to miss a couple weeks at the beginning of the season? Or is there an opportunity to play him and slide Deion Walker down to a tackle spot? Or are you saying that your best three is Deion Walker at the nose and TJ Sanders or Landon Jackson at that other tackle spot? Doesn't Fedarian feel more like a tackle to you too then? And I know they're both tackles. I'm sorry, I should delineate. Doesn't he feel more like a 4-eye to you than a nose tackle? You and everybody else, man. I mean, this has seemed to be the common thread is that Dwayne Carter just doesn't have it. And for me, for a guy coming off a knee injury, you asked him to put on weight. He's got to, I don't want to say learn how to use that weight, but like that weight can't just be dead weight, right? Like he has to put on that weight and then convert his body to make that more muscle and strength, not just, fat that he put on his body. And to ask him to do all that in 6 months is a tough ask, especially coming off an injury. So yeah. No, I mean I get you. That's what I'm saying, but I think those asks that you made of him are a lot. So listen, I know a lot of people are down on him. My idea would be I want him on the team, but if that means practice squad, I'm okay with that. And just try to give him a year coming off that injury, asking him to do something new to just figure it out. You know what I mean? And maybe at the end of by the end of the season, he's learned how to play that position. He's converted a little muscle. You know what I mean? Whatever. Maybe it's next year. I'm not inclined to give up on a guy with those situations. Now, it's the NFL. It's the NFL though. It's a numbers game. You know what I mean? So if the numbers don't work, the numbers don't work. Me personally, I would want to give him some time. You know, a bad injury. bad injury in the Texans game. Like whole field, I don't know, but like entire teams are on the field kind of thing, which you always hate to see. It looks like the Raiders' whole team is on the field. Chigozie Ansuam. I don't know if you know that name. But yeah, it's one of those that like the Texans are on a knee on the field kind of thing, and yeah, it looks bad. Especially in preseason, man. Like even if this guy doesn't have a job here, but like if this guy if he's just, a camp body, recovering from that, like it's hard enough to recover from something terrible if you're on the team and have all their resources and so on and so forth. If this guy was just a camp body, like him going through rehab, I don't even know what happened to him, but whatever it was, you know what I mean? Trying to do that while you still live your life and provide is, tough. All right. Other article I read today, which I at least was intrigued by. You know how much I love Captain Jorts, so this caught my eye. A Yahoo writer, and I should credit him, so let me pull it up here. A Yahoo writer did some mock trades before the season starts here. His name's Cole Shelton from Yahoo, and he had the Buffalo Bills trading for Gardner Minshew. Come on. I can't even give you, not even as a backup quarterback. You want Kyle Allen over Gardner Minshew? Get out of town. Come on. They need a backup quarterback, man. I do not want them going into the season with Kyle Allen. I hate this. Everybody says that. I hate this. What if he only misses? What if he pulls a hammy and misses 3 games? Like, right? It's not good, but if I can get a guy who can win me one of the 3, I'm in a better position than if I go 0-3. You know what I mean? Like, everybody says if Josh hurts, you're screwed. Yeah, if Josh has a season-ending injury, of course, you're screwed. We know that. But if Josh breaks a finger and can't play for 5 weeks, somebody who, like, give me somebody capable. Come on, Doc. Come on, Doc. Because Kyle Allen is trash, and so is Shane Buechele. Was he? What was he? I mean, Brady was definitely here when he was here, but was Brady ever a coordinator when he was here? Kyle Allen? No, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So why not Gardner Minshew? Tell me. That's it. Sure sounds like it. Okay, so all right, so I threw this out before we started podcasting again. What about Anthony Richardson? Okay. I mean, in terms of physical builds, very similar. In terms of athleticism, right. And your QB run game, you don't have to change at all. I mean, you can run quarterback power all you want. You know what I mean? Turn into 1912 Army or whatever. You know what I'm talking? Yeah, I don't know. I mean the backup quarterback thing is a problem to me, and I think too. Now that you said that, something stupid's going to happen, but it's still a position on this team. Listen, brother, we need somebody to play week 17, dog. Like you can't have nobody go out there week 17. He's still tweeting Bills fans. Yeah, why not? All right. Well, hey, listen. The trade was for Chase Lunt, and I think you have. I think you have plenty of options in terms of offensive line depth. To if somebody wants like a fringe starter on the offensive line as a trade piece for anything that you want, I think you have the depth to do that. So whether it's Chase Lunt or Van Parengager or Cushionberry, I think you have a lot of options in terms of depth offensive linemen. And I think teams like the Chargers are going to be looking for those kind of guys. So, okay. So let's talk about this joint practice a little bit. Only one day. Do you like that or no? Really? Why not? But the whole thing is that you want to hit somebody else, dog. You know what I mean? Like, this is one of the smart things that I think the NFL did, though, was build in that off week. They cut it down to 3 preseason games, but they didn't get rid of the week of the 4th preseason game and gave everybody a bye week, that weekend that college football kicks off. And so when you're saying it's coming up, I think if you do it this week of camp, where you still have a couple weeks to get people healthy and get them right if there's any kind of injury or anything like that, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I don't know. It's for me. Okay. I mean, so do you feel like you can't glean anything out of it, out of what we saw today, or do you just feel that way prior to it because you're scared of injury or something like that fighting? Knox had one of the biggest plays of the day. Yeah. Yeah, and of course the tweets start flying. Oh well, if he can stay healthy for 17 games, man, But I think you've built in enough depth in the tight end room that if you get Kincaid at his best, then great. But if you don't, you can still get plenty of production out of that tight end room with Knox and Haas. You know what I mean? Like, and even Latu, you know what I mean? If Latu was to see regular snaps, I think he'd make a couple plays. Do I think he'd be a dominant tight end? No. But, I trust him to go out there and run a seam route and catch the ball. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I like that tight end room. And this was all the talk going into last season was they want to run 2 and 3 tight ends all the time, and they want to use that to abuse defenses. And okay, maybe that's this year. Like, it didn't really work out that way last year, but maybe that's this year. You know what I mean? Maybe they can open it up and do that a little bit, and I'd be psyched for that. The other thing that I've heard a lot coming out of practice today, and the media types were careful to say that this hasn't been a consistent theme through camp, but that there were big problems at cornerback 2 today. And that it's starting to become something that's like worth watching. Is there a problem there? And so, I think my first question to you would be, are there any man corners out there that you can think of that would be a vet guy that you'd bring in? Because I just don't think they exist. So I think you're stuck with what you got unless you're going to make a trade. So the name that I've heard whispered is like, if you have to ask D. Alford to play on the outside, you can. But it's like the third position you're asking him to learn. You know what I mean? Like, he was supposed to be right. He's supposed to be your nickel corner, and then you're like, hey, can you learn some safety too? And then, oh, by the way, can we bump you outside because we're having problems with our young? Like, I just let the guy learn a position and play it. You know what I mean? So it drives me a little bit crazy, but. All right, so I got names for available cornerbacks. Tell me if any of these guys do anything for you. Artie Burns. Chris Boyd. Adoree Jackson. Jeff Okuda. Tre'Davious White. Kenny Moore. Jimmy Ward. Marshawn Jimmy Ward from Houston last year. He's old. I would take a look at Lattimore. Lattimore is the one that would be interesting to me. Yeah, but you're going to find somebody who's available right now who doesn't get cooked all the time. I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean, I think it. Go ahead. I do too. But I mean, it's now listen. I think this is why it was so alarming to the media types, and they know this as much as anybody else. So not being accusatory, but I think the reason that it was so alarming is because they were getting cooked by rookies. You know, like it wasn't like you're getting cooked by Jamar Chase and T. Higgins there. And I've heard good things about Boston and the way he's looked in camp, and I've heard good things about Concepcion and the way that he's looked in camp. Um, Break it down, bro. I know. Didn't we talk? Didn't you and I have a conversation about how much we wanted him? So should we have taken Boston instead of T.J. Parker? Is that what you're? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But but I mean, there was plenty of discussion amongst Bills fans of like that's your trade up guy is Casey Concepcion, right? Can you get? And I think he ended up going at like 17, so it wasn't practical. But it was. Does this guy fall to 20, and you're able to slide up a few spots and take him? So you know, I don't know, man. When Skylar Bell hasn't done much throughout camp, you just say to, and we haven't even talked about TJ Parker. You know what I mean? Like he's not he's fourth on the depth chart, fifth on the depth chart. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, yeah. I, yeah, I'm not done with TJ Parker, but who was it was the safety in Minnesota last year, right? Oh God, what was his name? And it was just like Buffalo, what are you doing? It's Tavondre Sweat the year before that. You and I both were all over Tavondre Sweat, and the Bills could have drafted him twice, I think. And Tennessee takes him, and now he's in your division. Like Dolak. Yeah, his draft history's been all right, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so I don't know how much time you've spent, but I did a whole breakdown for the Broncos, looking at what they would need to do to repeat as the one seed in the AFC, and it showed some really interesting things. Um, Not the least of which is that the Bills and the Broncos have two of the hardest first six games that I've seen in like a really long time. That first five stretch for the Bills is brutal. The first six for the Broncos is brutal. And so then I went around and I wanted to kind of compare schedules to see what I thought. The Broncos have a real soft middle of the schedule. The Chargers start off against like the Cardinals and the Raiders. Um, and the Chiefs have an opportunity to get healthy after playing the Broncos on Monday Night Football Week 1. So I started like looking around at all these, and Jacksonville's schedule's tough. Denver's schedule's tough. The AFC West plays the NFC West this year, so you've got those tough games on there, and it just made me like think to myself, what do we? The one thing, that we've never done in this experiment with Josh Allen to try to win a Super Bowl is get the goddamn bye. You know what I mean? Like, just stop yourself from having to win 3 games in a row, and they just can never fucking do it. And so while I was looking through schedules, man, the Bengals and the Ravens have an absolute cakewalk. If you can, while you're sitting there and I'm on this diatribe, pull up those schedules. It's ridiculous. Like, as I was going through and counting, I'm counting 13 or 14 wins. And, like, the only losses that I'm counting for them are when they play each other and, like, a game against Kansas City or a game against Buffalo. Like, that's it. They're playing the AFC South. They're playing the NFC South. And it's like, when I was going through their schedule, I was just like, good Lord. Yeah. But the thing is, here's the thing. It's both of them. So the chances that both of them hit a snag and don't win 13 or 14 games, highly unlikely. You know what I mean? Yeah, I got it pulled up, man. And so if you go all the way down to week 17, it's a Thursday night game on Prime Video on December 31st on New Year's Eve, and that could be for the 1 seed. It could be the 12-2 Bengals versus the 13-1 Ravens or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's incredible how easy these schedules are. So when I was going through and trying to mock it out for the Broncos, I was like, man, you have to root for everybody, including division rivals, to take down these teams. Because there's like a Kansas City versus Baltimore game on December 13th, or no, versus the Bengals on December 13th. And it's like, you've got to root for Kansas City. Like, you have to have a big enough, if you're the Broncos, you have to have a big enough lead in the division that you root for Kansas City to beat the Bengals if you want to talk about getting the 1 seed. And I think it's the same thing for the Bills. Like, man, these teams are going to end up with 12, 13 wins, something like that. And you better be game if you think you're going to get that top. If you have any hopes at all of getting that top seed, you got to get through that first part of the schedule, and you got to make sure that you win 4 or 5 to kick it off, or 5 of 6. Like, you cannot drop 3 of those games, especially with 3 of them being at home, you know? And right out of the gate, too. Sure. Why you got to talk like that? uh, that's true. But to say that both of them are going to struggle again, right, right. Like one of them's going to figure it out, and you got a new coach in one spot. You know, I don't know. I don't know. I just, yeah. Well, so I wanted you to go through here and kind of pick the Bills. Granted, we're on limited knowledge right now, but I just want from you what you. Howard might come watch a game with us actually. So, all right. So I just want, obviously early. We don't know really injury wise what's going to happen week one. We're guessing here, guys. I just want to make that clear. You know what I mean? This is not, be all end all, but let's run you down and just see how many wins you can get. And then we'll talk about if we think it's enough for a 1 seed, which feels like the answer is going to be no, but let's do the exercise anyway. So at Houston for the opener. First Detroit. Opening a new stadium, Thursday Night Football. Sunday versus LA. Versus your boy Harbaugh, 11 a.m. start. New England at home. The AFC East champs coming to town. At the LA Rams. Monday Night Football. Okay. So you got us 4-1 through the first 5. I think if you go 4-1 through the first 5, you have a look at the 1 seed. I really do. But at Vegas, it's Kirk Cousins or is it Mendoza? Oh, are you going to that one? Nice. All right. You got 5 wins. Versus Baltimore. At home, 11 o'clock game. Wow. Okay. Monday Night Football at Minnesota. Kyler Murray. Dun, 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 dun. Is that going to be their... Is that going to be their stupid one? Yeah. Is that going to be their Falcons game from last year? Okay. At the New York Jets. Versus the Miami Dolphins at home. Versus Kansas City on Thanksgiving night. Wow, you're really stacking them up here. At New England. Sunday, December 6th, off 10 days rest. More than that. Okay. At Green Bay in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field on December 13th, Sunday Night Football. So they lose 2 in a row here. Chicago at home on a Saturday, short week. Sunday Night Football into Saturday football. Okay. Man, that's tough. If we're coming off 2 straight losses, that Chicago game turns into a must-win. It really does. Because then you turn around and guess what? At Denver, Christmas on a short week. Okay. Okay. New Year's weekend at Miami. That's 12 wins. Is that enough for a 1 seed? Yeah, see? See, man? You got two tough stretches. Houston, Detroit, Los Angeles, New England, Los Angeles. Just right out the gate to open is brutal. That's a tough stretch. Then the holiday stretch. You know what? I'm going to refer to it as that from now on. The holiday stretch is brutal. Kansas City, New England. These are away. 3 of these 5 are away. Kansas City, at New England, at Green Bay, versus Chicago, at Denver. That's a brutal stretch, man. That is a brutal stretch. And from the New England game, you've got 4 of 5 on the road. You're at New England, at Green Bay, versus Chicago, at Denver, at Miami. Like that's tough, man. That's tough. That'll be what decides if they win the 1 seed right there. Come on. Well, so you said 13-2 is the ceiling? That's not enough games, first of all. You're missing that's still not enough games. You did. And that's still not enough games. No, I don't. That's what I was going to push you on because the variance is 1 game based on what you said. 3, 14-3. 14-3. Yeah. Yeah, you're thinking of 16. So you think 14-3 is the ceiling and 12-4 is the floor? Oof. I mean, it's nice if that's what it is, but I don't know. I mean, a floor? Dog, I think you could get off to a real miserable start here. And if you then go 500 on that holiday stretch, you could be looking at a 10-7. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's out of the question. I really don't. It'd be tough. You would have a lot of pitchforks out based on how you did in the playoffs. You would have a lot of pitchforks out based on what you did in the playoffs. If they were a 10-7 wild card and then lost in the first round at Baltimore or something like that, yeah, people would be saying that's who you fired McDermott for. Yeah, that'd be tough. That'd be a tough year for the Bills. Pitchforks would be out. But, on the flip side of that, I can see them going 4-1 through that first stretch. I think Houston's a good team, but like CJ Stroud has to reprove it to me. And just week 1, anything can happen. Week 1 is such a liar, man. Anybody can beat anybody week 1. Coming out of camp, there's a lot of ballyhoo, a lot of rah-rah. Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say run the ball right at him, and you put Spencer Hawes on him every snap. You know what I mean? And just make his life kind of miserable. Yeah, I think you got a chance. They've got good. I would have to go look at the names because I'm just saying this off the cuff, but I feel like I remember they've got a good rest of their D line too. It's not just him. So you're gonna need your guys to win. So you're gonna need your guys to win 1-on-1s. You know what I mean? So, but I think you can. I think you can do it. And here's the other thing: you need the defense to be good. Like make C.J. Stroud look like he looked in the playoffs last year. Yeah. But it's a brand new defense, so we don't really know. Like we say that with a lot of confidence, just based on the talent that I think the Bills have. But you just don't really know what it's going to look like, and if they're going to have everything ironed out. Yeah, well, hopefully. Then week 2, I just think I feel for Detroit because I think it's been really unfortunate some of the circumstances that they've had, but like I don't think they have all the talent that they need. I think you should cook their defensive backfield. I really do. And so if that's the case, then Josh needs to hopefully you feed on the energy of that new stadium opening up and you don't get overhyped. You just feed on it and really turn that thing into a rout. I think you can beat New England. I'm not afraid of New England. I think they're a better team. It's going to be a tough game, but I'm not afraid of them. And so then it comes down to, can you split with the LA teams, which I think you're most likely to beat the Chargers and lose to the Rams. Chargers are at home, Rams are away. But can you split with the LA teams and then you're 4-1 going to Vegas and you get your bye after that and you can kind of take a deep breath. You know what I mean? And if you can do that, then you can talk about the 1 seed, I think. That holiday stretch, man. It's just those are big time games, and those NFC North teams are going to be fighting each other to try to get into the playoffs, and you get 2 of them in the dead of winter, So the Bears are coming to your house and you're going to Green Bay, but it's going to be Lambeau Field on a Sunday night. It's, yeah. 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 Satan doesn't feel safe is a good way to put it. And then, yeah, it was that. Didn't we play them his very first year? That's interesting. Well, I'll look later. And then, man, those holiday games. I think everyone's going to be fired up. I'm glad it's the night game for Thanksgiving in Buffalo. If it was one of the day games, which obviously those are set aside for Detroit and Dallas, but, I feel like it would be a little bit more iffy. But I think the city of Buffalo is going to get up to host a Thanksgiving night game. I think it's going to be a thing. Yeah. Stadium's going to be beautiful. The B-roll of people tailgating with Thanksgiving turkeys, you know what I mean? So I think Buffalo's going to get up for that, you know what I mean? And so I feel good about Thanksgiving night. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. Do you know, somebody said that they're the second youngest roster in the NFL now? Yeah. Talk about a rebuild, right? They're trying to make a second window for Mahomes, and I think it's smart. And then they don't have any wide receivers that are worth a damn. And then they gotta get Travis Kelce to freaking retire because. Did you see the video of him cooking somebody? And it's just like an old man YMCA move. Oh, it was a head fake, and it was the slowest move you've seen on an NFL field in 40 years. It was brutal. Yeah. Yeah. And then, man, the Denver game on Christmas night just feels weird. It just feels like it's already right now. It just feels weird. No, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. I'm just saying it feels weird. It just feels like it's going to be a weird day and a weird time, and that's going to be tough. You know what I mean? So Um, that holiday stretch, man, freaks me out. I know. I know. I'll tell you what. I mean, I know we're playing vanilla and bass. I liked what it looked like last week. But the only thing that worries me about that is him staying healthy, because he has the tendency to extend plays, and that's what freaked us out in the Carolina game. He took some hits where he's so big that like when people hit him, they have to like fall into his legs to get him down, and that's how you get hurt. So it's just the extending plays thing freaks me out a little bit. But I'm not afraid of him throwing it down the field at all. Not at all. And here's why. I want you to think back to maybe the best we've seen this offense. Well, so let me ask you, what do you think the best we've seen a Josh Allen offense be? And I'm not talking about for a season. I'm talking about for a couple weeks stretch at any point in his career. I think there's two answers, and I have one in specific that I like. What is that? 22, right? That's 13 seconds here. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, if you wanted to talk about, that perfect game stretch, right? I think that's fair for you to say that might be the best stretch of his career, right? What's the other time I think about? And I think this is the right answer. Do you remember that? Well, that's good too. I'd probably put that top three. How about Rams and Lions a couple years ago? His MVP years. I mean, he put up almost 100 points in 2 games. You know what I mean? Like he was dealing. And I think if you can get the down the field with what you've established now for a run game, that you get games that look like that. Do you know what I mean? Yes. And here's the thing, and I mean, you watch more tape than I do, so you can feel free to chime in here. But everything I've heard from everybody is the too high shell is not as prevalent nowadays. You're not seeing as much of it. You're getting more cover ones and cover threes than you had the last 5-10 years. The Vic Fangio defense is going out of style, if you will. And so, I mean, that's taking away the run game that you did so well. And what do you do to get the teams out of that? you throw the ball down the field and make them go back into a too high shell. You know what I mean? And then you run them out of it. And then when you run them out of it, you spin one down the seam because they're running a cover three, and you hit Knox for a touchdown, straight down the seam for 30 yards. So I just feel like you might have a real nice confluence of the league getting away from the too high shell, Allen finally having a guy who attracts enough attention in DJ Moore that you get one-on-ones other places, and if he can the willingness of the offense to throw downfield, which I don't completely buy into McDermott tamping that down a little bit, but there's a part of me that believes it a little bit. So do you have an ultra aggressive head coach, a lack of too high shell, the proper weapons to attack both the middle of the field and the outside, and the run game to cause enough fear that you're not facing, multiple safety looks deep in the field, like. Well, if that's the case, DJ Moore and Khalil Shakir need to eat them up. You know what I mean? Like you 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 have to have guys that can win on the outside. And with all the injuries they have right now, you hate that, but you have to have guys that can win on the outside. Um, all that being said, go ahead. Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. So we named, if you name Cook and Ty Johnson, Davis not so much in the passing game, but Cook, Ty Johnson, your three tight ends, and your four wide receivers, that's like 10 guys. So you have to be able to mix and match that personnel enough to make it to get favorable matchups for your guys. Here's the thing that you have to do, and we talked a little bit about this, I think, the very first night that we streamed. With Kincaid being hurt last year, he was only on the field when you were throwing the ball. And I think it was GR, they credited somebody for bringing this up, but they talked about it for like a week, which is more than any other tight end in the league. When Kincaid was on the field, you threw. It was an absurd percentage, high 80s, I think it was. And more than any tight end in the league, when Spencer Hawes was on the field, you ran the ball. And you can't tip it that much. This is where the self-scout comes in. You have to know that, it doesn't matter which of my three tight ends is out there. I'm going to throw it and I'm going to run it. Because if you give defenses as definitive of a tell as that, you're going to have a lot of trouble. And yes, you still have Josh Allen, but you just don't put yourself at a disadvantage like that. Yeah. So tell me what you'd rather see. Because we saw everybody eats worked. Got you an MVP and got you to an AFC championship game, where you have a drop pass, you're a drop pass away from advancing. So I don't want to lean too much on oh, you need a Diggs, you need a guy. But what would you rather see? Would you rather see, let's put it this way. Would you rather see four players have over 50 catches and 750 yards? Or would you rather see either DJ Moore or Dalton Kincaid get close to 100 catches and 1,400 yards? Yeah. Well, then you got to pick. Then you got to pick one. That's true. That's true. But then you're not using your matchups the way that we were just talking about, right? Then you're just feeding a guy. Gosh, I mean, the high, the ceiling is just so high for this team. I mean, it's so high. And you had the McDermott haters for years saying he's holding this team back, he's holding this team back, and now you just want them to be right. You know what I mean? Like you just want them to be validated and right, and I'll put up with listening to them because this team, the ceiling is so freaking high, man. It's so high, and the thing that's real scary about it, and it's why you haven't made a change to this point, is the floor's lower than it has been in a few years, man. It really is. I mean, you got a real tough schedule. You got a brand new defense that you don't have the right personnel for theoretically. Um, it's just the floor, I think, is lower than it has been in the past 5 or so years. Um, but the ceiling is just so high for this team. It's like you said, you just want to get the party started. You know what I mean? See where we're at. All right, brother. Anything else that you got on your mind? Let's real quick. Anything that you want to see for the upcoming preseason game? Brady said that starters he'll decide how if they play based on how the practice went today. Sounds like the practice went well today. So I imagine we don't really see starters for this game, but still plenty of guys that we want to see something from. So anything specifically that you want to see coming up here on Saturday? You said it for me just kind of in a roundabout way. It's all about the trenches. I was not happy with the backup offensive line last week. I wasn't happy with the starting. I wasn't happy with the starting offensive line. Okay. I mean, fine. Fine, not good. And so I'd like to see everybody take another step up there, right? Like, can we go from fine to good in the middle? Can we go from not that good to fine on the outside for the offensive line? And then, like you were saying, I think there's a lot to figure out with the depth at defensive line and those rush edges. You know who the guys are who are going to be on the roster, I think, for those rush edges and for the defensive line because they just don't have a lot of options. But I want to see those guys play and perform. You mentioned the two TJs, Sanders and Parker. You know, I want to see those guys do something. I want to see if Javon Solomon can continue to do stuff in this defense. He's a guy that for years we've been like, well, it feels like there's something there. And I feel like this is a good position for him. Like Javon Solomon, go dominate a game. You know what I mean? It's a preseason game against the Browns. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So for me it's the trenches and I'll include the rush edges in that, even though they're not technically included in that, but the rush edges and that defensive line, I just want to continue to see progress. And then the same thing on the offensive line. I want to see progress. I want to see communication get better. I want to see technique get better. I want to feel like I'm real solid with depth there because I think you should be. Like, based on the names and the talent that you have, I think you should be real solid on that offensive line all the way through, and I don't think they had their best outing last week. So, all right, what you doing for the game, big fella? Okay. All right. Well, it's a nice 11 o'clock start again, which is I'm all for. Nice little early morning. All right, brother. Anything else that you want to hit before we get out of here? Oh God. Yeah, yeah. You're talking about the Bills, right? This is the Buffalo Bills you're talking about? That nice royal blue? Yeah. That's what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh, okay. When did this turn into a freaking Michigan podcast? I need all those commenters back who were giving you crap for it a couple years ago. So we'll have to get them back in here. Yeah. Oh, clearly. Okay. I think that's more of a my channel problem than it is a Michigan problem, but okay. All right, brother. I appreciate you jumping on. You want a week off next week, or are you coming back next week? All right. Sounds good to me. All right, brother. I appreciate you. Be well. We'll talk next week. And as always, go Bills.